All right, final promotion series in the 2-1 bracket. We've got T1 versus BLG. Bin's been playing out of his mind, and it is a Jax meta, so he's been playing super strong. Yagao has been steady. Elk has actually been one of the better carries in the tournament, and that's actually created a little bit of a rift with what this team maybe is expecting to do in their fights. We've seen this juxtaposition of Elk and Bin where they seemingly are best when Bin's actually playing tanks well. He is a great carry player, there's no doubt about that. He might be one of the best players in the entire tournament, but when we have these builds that are going towards control mages, tons of damage, we've got this Kaisa all-in meta from down bottom. If you're pairing that with Jax, suddenly you might have this little bit of a discrepancy on what's going on. We'll see if they figure that out in their games. Here we see a Jax ban. In fact, Maokai, Nico, Jax being answered by Rumble, Zaya, and Renata. I love this sequence of bans here, making sure that Rumble is not on the table. If you're banning Zaya, you need to get this one gone. Jarvan being picked up blue 1, responded to by Orianna and Renekton. Now, Renekton is a fine blind pick, but you don't always need to prioritize this. I tend to prefer it in R4 rather than in R2. You'd rather pick it up here and pick up your preferred bot lane or preferred element to a bot lane here, but it seems like they want to save that for later. Answered with Azir and Gnar. Azir being very happy to play into Orianna, has plenty of range to win that matchup. We see a Hail of Blades very likely to come out here from Faker as a way to bully this matchup, and Gnar as a direct counter pick to Renekton, opting for Gnar instead of Kennen. Sometimes you expect Kennen because of how good it is with Azir and with Jarvan. In particular, to make that like mixed damage type, but Gnar also liking the extra terrain here. It also gives you some flexibility to play with a champion like, I mean, you're not going to have Tilia in this draft because Azir and Jarvan are already gone, but let's see, what do I want? Maybe that's it. Maybe there is no other synergy I care about. Just throwing them into the Cataclysm, good enough. Second half, we see Alistar and Caitlyn bite the dust, safest laner. They don't want them to be able to take something safe. They answer, or they go into R4 with Kaisa, dropping the gauntlet. It's answered by Senna Tom Kench, undefeated so far in this tournament, which I'm not surprised by at all. And we end up with Nidalee. Now, Nidalee tends to be at its strongest when you have multiple pushing lanes. There's a huge problem here, though. Orianna loses to Azir, the push. So how is Nidalee ever going to get off of her feet for this matchup? Plus, you have a counter matchup in the lane here. So are you just trying to pick on a Senna Kench? In late game, the poke from Nidalee doesn't really do that much. The all-in threat doesn't do that much either because Tom Kench gives such a good bailout. So this feels like a huge draft win for T1. We'll see how it is played out on the Rift. All right, here we go. We see the overhead. Like to see the cinematics. Azir jumps out, gets that early vision with the W. Actually going for a little bit of trades here back and forth. Actually, this will be really good for gathering information. Look at this. We've actually seen a conquer on Azir. This is much more about continuation fights. Azir has been much stronger than Orianna, but most people have been going Hail of Blades and using that additional push plus the Scorch and Cheap Shot synergy to just bully the lanes out. Instead, we're seeing Conquer, which is going to mean Presence of Mind, and we might have something like Mana Flow and Scorch, something probably to win the lane. I don't expect them to want to give up any amount of pressure to this Nidalee coming forward. Perhaps this is a nod to the Nidalee, saying, hey, Nidalee can be in our face, and therefore maybe I don't want to be pushing up so much. We'll see what dynamic that takes. This mid lane matchup is going to tell a lot about what's going on. Hold on, we've got a delayed invade. Beautiful late timer. It's always good. You wait till the spells are on cooldown. This, however, has a problem. You're doing this into a Senna. Senna is going to be super happy to take stacks all day long here. You see Owner and Keria. They're going to delay this as long as possible. It's no longer about the red buff. Here we go. We see a W flash from Rel. We're going forward. Zun is going to be chunked back. Owner is going backwards. Azir is first on the rotation. Means Elk is going to bite the dust. Zun does get the red buff for themselves, but now he's stuck in a tough spot here. How is he ever going to get out? This might even be a flash Q from Tom Kench. No, he's opting not to. Waiting for the animation on the spell. Oh, auto. Beautifully done. One more. Lining up the Q. Wait till you're in a stun animation. Wait till the other guy turns around and boom, that's when you go for it. Perfectly done by Keria. This is so fantastic for T1. Regardless of how this draft might have played out otherwise, Senna already has 7 stacks, guys. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds into the game. Elk steps up again. He doesn't have any resources, and they know it. We're going to get multiple packs, 8 stacks here, 9 on Senna already, and a 2-0 start. Congratulations, BLG. You got the red buff, but was it worth it? Invading, great plan, generally. If you're doing it into a Tahm Kench Senna, though, you had better be making a decisive move. And the fact that Yagao was not around to make this work with their team means that they get completely blown out. This has Stomp written all over it. We'll see whether or not they're able to dig themselves out. Now we're talking about counter matchup with push, counter matchup with push, a huge Senna and a huge Tahm Kench. Jarvan's probably going to have the ability to go wherever he wants on the map. He's even investing in an early control ward to try to deny any sort of invades, any amount of all-in. Renekton and Nidalee is really the big source of playmaking that they have on this lineup. You see Faker. Faker did lose a little bit of resources going over for the play second. He did get a little bit of chip damage, means he's a little bit weaker here. We'll probably be letting this come in. Let the turret help you to rebound, and then get your teleport off. In fact, he's going to try to do it right now when it takes the least amount of effort. Boom, and this line of scrimmage does not change. That's something you can try to do. Try to tap those backline minions, see if they can reposition, see if your guys will re-aggro, and try to get them to jump ahead. Way less likely for the casters to do it than the melees. But Azir ends up getting a recall and a teleport back in, losing no momentum. And so is able to come back with refillable null magic mantle. So he's going to be feeling very good. All right, Keria drawing some aggro. We actually miss right there with the spear. It means Guma's going to feel very strong here. Sarah, 17 stacks already. The Nidalee gets the advantage in the play here. They end up killing the Kench, but we've got a swiftness on Guma. 2 ruby crystals on Tahm Kench. Tahm Kench is going to be very happy to stack up his resistances. He might go for a Heartsteel even in some situations. Usually we're seeing something like Sunfire. Bomby Cinder, for example, to start off, you get some amount of poke. You can go with Iceborne Gauntlet. You can go with Heartsteel. There are a lot of different options. They're calling for the fight because Faker is in position. He's got the better jump because of the teleport. The earlier push here means he gets into a good spot, but they're able to get out. Now, Faker correctly aggressing upon Yagao. Yagao cannot really fight back because his whole team just dodged on this side of the wall, so that means that the aggression can go and face him. Lots of action in this beginning. We could do a whole video on just the first 5 minutes of this game. Maybe we get a moment to breathe. Let's take a look at this play. Formation, right? You've got 6, a double stacked wave here. Keria going in against a double stacked wave is not something you want to be doing. They did not have good information about the Nidalee as well. They were feeling quite strong here. You did not need to make any plays. You had a huge advantage from the kills that you had and the stats that you were already gaining for these fights. You did not need to go for all-ins, but perhaps they just didn't want the tempo of the minions falling under turret and allowing for a reset. Either way, they end up paying dearly for that. BLG comes back in the game, but still, nothing can compare to this, right? 22 stacks. The fact that Senna's already up a level here, going to start outranging Kaisa at 40 and truly taking over the matchup. But right now, just going to feel super, super comfortable. Guardian again from the Tahm Kench. Sometimes you can see Grasp into another melee champion. Guardian's definitely for the two, anytime you're playing against 2 casters. 2 ranged, as it were. But the Guardian will give some extra power to the Senna as we go into these fights. It also has extra synergy with your Revitalize, which you're definitely using in these cases. Second Wind, Revitalize, and Font of Life is the core that you want from Tahm Kench. You can go for Overgrowth, but Revitalize is such a big deal with your thick skin, plus the fact that you have a Senna and the synergy with Font of Life. All that. Zeus taking a wonderful trade here against Bin. Bin looking to just get a stun off, ends up getting thrown into the wall immediately. So good mastery from Zeus. Getting upfront damage. Glad to see another tier on Orianna. This will be into a second item, Seraph's Embrace. This is a big deal for her. You want the AP. The shields need to be massive. It's not about dealing the damage. If I see another Void Staff second on Orianna, I might flip the table. It's just a huge miss when your team is relying on you to get those massive shields out. It's not about the big just ultimate. It's about you being able to set your whole team up. If they are stronger, then you are stronger. Every fight that doesn't end here, anytime that you're able to disengage with this Senna Tahm Kench lane, you're going to be supremely favored because Senna is going to continue to stack up. She's going to have a pretty big buy once we do get this shove in. She's getting 8 gold per stack on the ghouls on the ground, right? So she's going to continue getting stronger. Those stacks are going to turn into immediate power. You see, using the Q whenever possible to get a push and harass, right? Sort of like Ziggs. If you can ever hit that spell and hit enemies, or hit your teammate and hit enemies, that's what you absolutely want in as many situations as possible. They're stepping up. Good job. I wish that they would keep the camera panned over here for a second. Calling the jungler over so that they go and take down the control ward. That can be a trap if Nidalee is nearby. When you go for that ward, you could get jumped on. And if you have Jarvan ready, then you say, okay, come at us. We're welcome. We're feeling good. We're full health here. We're feeling really mighty fine. If you jump on us and Jarvan comes in second, then you should be able to get a 2-man EQ or at least a prio target on EQ. Means that they feel very solid here. And what will happen in these matchups? This Tahm Kench Senna, they will whittle you down. Tahm Kench is just constantly healing. The Doran Shield is constantly healing. You don't normally have to deal with that in the bot lane. And Tahm Kench specifically just has this regenerating property. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You just whittle them down. If they don't have a healer, what are they going to do in response here? That is just permanent damage that is sticking to them and allows you to come over. And you've also got that Font of Life going that anytime you land a Q, you're getting a nice percent missing health HP, and you're going to be in a good spot. Now, talking about this rotation, as a Tahm Kench Senna team, you always rotate for Herald. All right, because you want to be there, you want there to be a fight, you want the Senna to get stacks as a reward for going off, and you're never leaving Senna alone in a lane. Hold on, we get a big shuffle. Beautiful play. Rel peels off, gets a big vacuum to get the peel off. We see the Orianna as well. Owner shows up next. Here we go. Kuma's in the middle of the fight. Immediate spit out, actually. Interesting play. Is that 40? No, 37 stacks on Senna. So a big fight to lead off the action. But you see what happens. You come over to this fight as a Senna Tahm Kench. You don't want to leave Tahm Kench alone because he gets better shields and he wants to be where Senna is. You don't want to leave Senna alone because Senna needs a teammate there so that she can get more stacks. You also want to get more fights. Always want to be fighting with this tandem. That's why you see them rotate over to the Herald, and they're making sure that they're there in position. Now, what I'd like as an adaptation, one step further. Hold on, we'll watch the fight. See it. Rel jumping into the middle fight to peel a little bit. Could have been a way greedier with that Cataclysm. Actually could have bundled all 3 of those if they targeted it onto Elk, which would have also allowed for Senna to get a 3-man ultimate off. So could have done that a little bit better. Another thing that they could have added is have Gnar in the bot lane, especially if you have teleport available. Maybe right there without the teleport, they're feeling like they don't have the resource to do it. But anytime that your team's planning on going to get a Herald, right? Herald's going to spawn at 8-0, right? This means if you want to get in here, you're talking about 2-minute teleports. So you're talking about like 1 wave crash and come back. The fastest you can do it is go for a 3-wave crash, which you can finish at about 240. Hold on, we'll watch the action here. Gnar with a beautiful chain CC just gets the solo bolo. 240 is the fastest that you can get this wave in by yourself. If we're talking about most pushers, someone like Renekton, you can't do it with Shen. But Gnar can get decent amount of AoE damage. It does take longer than this realistically, right? You're talking about usually at least 250. If you've drawn yourself up a double stacked wave going into the 3rd wave, you can use those 6 extra casters to help push the wave quickly. That's the way that you can get a recall off and show up using your teleport at about this 250 mark. If you do that, and if you have something like Cosmic Insight, that's how you can get back in time for this. Otherwise, you're waiting till at the earliest 850. But if you compare it with Cosmic Insight, then you're talking about being able to rotate this Gnar to the bot lane. You get Senna Kench up here. Then you can set up for Vision. If you need to, Gnar can jump in. He can also come in with Rage. You can just clean up fights. And then you have the best of all worlds. So a little bit can be improved. They end up bringing the Gnar over, and that's fine. Frame perfect cleanse right there. Saving his life. Senna getting the upfront damage. 44 stacks, already 2 levels in the upgrades here. Going to be feeling super strong in these fights. Going to be outranging the Nidalee soon. See all that poke landing. My goodness. This is going to get oppressive. If you, going back to that level 1, I love the idea of delayed invade level 1s. We haven't seen nearly enough of them. The concept behind a delayed invade, right? You're talking about starting to move into where they might have vision right at 128. That's because you're taking advantage of 130. 3 spells go on cooldown if they're leashing, right? So in those cases, we had boom, boom, 1, 2, 3 spells go on cooldown. We have the banner going down. Senna might put her Q out. Tom Kench might put their Q out. And if those spells are all on cooldown, then you are supremely favored for your fight, right? That's what the ideology is. The concept behind a late invade is you're showing up right after they use their spells, and then you have to commit to the fight. The problem was Orianna stayed mid. Azir was able to get first move, which meant that Elk died, and Senna got 7 stacks to start the game, right? That's something that you have to avoid if you're going for these delayed invades. You have to be much more proactive. All right, so we see the upfront damage, but Zeus says that's enough. Okay, you're out of spells now. I'm going to jump forward. Transforming and the immediate box hit. You see that beautiful use of the mastery of the range of the ability to throw him into the wall and continue knowing that you're strong enough. Good job by Zeus recognizing that you would be strong enough to continue that fight. You can just take that trade. A lot of people go a little bit too ham, especially if you realize that the Fury, the ultimate's going to be wearing down, leaving him, especially if he leaves himself with under 50 Fury. All right, almost 3K to the advantage here of T1. They haven't snowballed as much as they maybe could have. That fight in the mid lane could have been insane if that Cataclysm had hit 3. But they are very happy to be scaling like this. 53 stacks on Senna. We'll be keeping track of that. 60 is when you can start carrying. Oh, you feel strong at 40. 60, you're happy. You're starting to carry. Once you get any higher than that, 80 or 100, you're just completely dominating. And we're getting every stack off possible, right? Just throwing as many spells into that range. It'll be interesting to see what the build is. All right, Umbral Glaive. Could see it turn into a Collector next. I don't think we're going to see any more Divine Sunder days here from Senna's. We've seen a couple different builds. You can go Triforce. You can go for your own Kraken Slayer. Can even go for a lethality build, right? With Yumu's Ghostblade. Or even Eclipse, right? If you expect the fight to be diving into you all the time. But I presume that she's going to go some amount of move speed to make sure that she can move outside the range of the Orianna ball. But that said, once you get to 60 and especially 80 stacks, you're just not even close, right? They're like, they can't touch you. That Orianna will try as they might. You can just be at the edge of the team fight range. You will never get hit by this vacuum. You'll never get hit by this unless it's flanking. Nidalee Spear will never hit you, and the ball will never hit you. So that is certainly looming right now. BLG is going to have to make something happen fast. And the problem with making anything happen is that Senna will necessarily get more stacks. All right, Azir's in the bot lane, has teleport available. This is a beautiful ward for the teleport. If they go for it, Nar's going to come over, has a half bar of rage. Renekton has similar. Nar does have a better AoE presence in the fight. Renekton much more single target damage unless he can get into the middle of them. But again, anytime that you start reaching forward, if you're walking into Senna's range, you're going to get clapped. Jarvan 4 also giving wonderful synergy. This is actually another lane you can play. If you play with your friends Jarvan, you can go Airy, you can go Shield Bash on the Senna, and it's actually quite insane. Right? Just stand next to the Senna, the Airy just keeps on bopping over. You get that source, plus when you have EQ from Jarvan, it means that you necessarily put yourself in position where the Q hovers over. So that's another synergy they have going on in this game. We'll never see a Senna Jarvan lane, but that is another synergy that you can look for. Another kind of also hidden one right here, the extra attack speed for Azir. That's extra damage for his spells. So they really have put together a beautiful composition for themselves. This might just be the perfect Senna Kench lineup. I don't think I would want anything different. Not even Rumble, right? Rumble makes the fight too mercurial, too volatile, right? You don't necessarily want the fight that just splits into 2 directions. I'd rather have the Gnar to help me be a pivot, right? We've got 1, 2, 3 people that can pivot in front so that the Senna can see the fight, and so that she can see the lines of sight on her Q. Umbral Glaive from carries, always going to give your team extra value. This is the weakest position in the game, you are, just by definition, all AD carries. Up until your second item, essentially, you're going to be the weakest character in the game. Even with the farm, the supports have so much ability locked in up front on their scaling. Once you get that full first item, you can be stronger than supports, and it's not until you have two items that you're actually feeling like you might be able to fight against some laners, but not all, right? So that's why I like Umbral Glaive a lot more on carries, right? Especially your job is to push mid. As soon as you finish pushing mid, what are you doing, right? Are you sliding back and you taking camps? Whatever you're doing, you're moving backwards or you're going in any direction, right? You can octopus out from mid lane. You want to know what sort of vision was there, and it's just such a naturally great item for carries to build. Super cheap, good starter item, gives yourself early lethality, plus it gives you extra utility in this part of the game where you're weakest. And this combination, right, you're spending 3,400 on this. It's essentially the same as your Ashe buying a Trinity Force early, but you're feeling very strong. You've got 2 lethality items. Your spells are going to deal a lot of damage. You can cover yourself on wards. You're not worried about getting trapped anywhere because you can kill the wards. There's so much good to come from this build. Everyone that can do it should consider it. I'm preparing for this dragon. We're seeing battle lines being drawn. This is a miss right here. The fact that you teleported to the control ward and not to the little ward means that they see that. So that means that Faker answers with his. Doesn't care that his is on the control ward because they know that the answer is going to be on. And then this line of scrimmage gets drawn. How do you ever go forward? BLG needs to look for a proactive flank. The fact that you have Renekton and Rel here in the same position as your Orianna, you can't make anything happen. You need to be able to T, right? You need to have Renekton or Rel coming in from some sort of angle, or it can be sort of like this angle or this angle, something that makes this front to back line of scrimmage close that gap and the ability to drop the ball onto other threats besides what's directly in front of you. Otherwise, you're making Gnar and Tahm Kench's job way too easy. Gnar going for Trinity Force, worth checking out. Sometimes you see stride breakers, but Trinity Force means that we're going to see a dedication to the split push, knowing that he's so much stronger in the side lanes. Orianna, very weak side laner. Renekton, totally fine, but gets countered by Gnar. So when you see this Trinity Force into Black Cleaver, that Gnar is just going to rip through you, and there's very little you can do with it, even if you buy this. Now, this will be interesting. Are we going to see a Hullbreaker, and are we going to see a group with Hullbreaker strategy from Renekton, or a hey, I've got Hullbreaker, I can actually fight you, Mr. Gnar, and going from there? I still don't think you're going to win that, especially being this far behind right now. We're talking a significant CS gap, 32 CS, down half a level. No, down a level and a half, sorry, a level and a half deficit, plus a completed item. Like, Gnar is in position to carry this game from a side lane if they want to. Naturally, they'd prefer to play through the Senna, but we'll see how much pressure the Gnar ends up giving. You see how he's moving up here? The team's moving into the blue side. Owner and Keria creating flanking threats, right? These two guys are thick enough that enemy team does not want to pass through them, nor do they want to give Senna the opportunity to get more stacks, which means that they just move up and get the second charge off. Also means that they have some lingering vision that they'll be able to use for Gnar teleports as they prepare for this Baron. Gnar starting to get work done on the turrets already. This is a big deal. Guma Umbral Glaive showing dividends again, right? Just, I can be hovering. I'm pretty weak. I'm kind of squishy. Very easy for you guys to maybe come kill me. So, all right, I'll just jump into the river and clear some vision on this downtime. Kench about to reach 2 items as well. Senna about to reach 2 items. Hold on, Zeus is getting jumped on. Good, actually, proactive play here. 4 people going. We'll see if T1 answers immediately with the Baron. There's no way that they're actually going to go for it. What they want to do is redraw this line of scrimmage. This is something we saw from BLG before. Versus split pushers, BLG is very willing to go take that shot against the Gnar as they rotate. So they look to try to keep this area dark, and then they try to catch you on a rotation as your team is playing for a split pusher. So if I'm coaching any team from now on, now that they've shown this play 3 different times, this is something that you need to know. So if you're an advanced scout for another team, you need to recognize that BLG is more than willing to make this play. Hold on. 2 people playing strong over here. Actually, could have been engaged upon. Senna wasn't exactly healthy either. Could have had a little bit of aggression go in that way. They opted not to do anything, perhaps being afraid of what's the fog. But if you're an advanced scout and you see, hey, this team, this is how they like to punish the split, right? They say, we'll let you come in this far. We'll let you get exactly to our half of the map. And then as you rotate in to either give yourself vision or you try to take the shortest path over to the Baron, we intercept. So that means anytime you're split pushing against this team, option A, just don't even go for this wave. Option B is if you do, go back around this way. And option C is just hide in the bush for a long time, right? Wait. Let your team move up forward. Then once you see people on the map again, then you can press up. Now that kill did give BLG a lot of breathing room. The fact that they had no threat of Gnar coming forward means that they were able to get some resources back for themselves. They were able to wrest some control back of the northern quadrant. But this whole time, Senna's been stacking up. She's at 84 stacks now. Going to start nearly one-shotting Kai'Sa. We end up with the Eclipse. We'll see if we get a Collector next. Not the most common pick. Sometimes we see Essence Reaver as well. There's a lot of different options. You can go Kraken Slayer to kind of turn this into the most extra damage now, especially since Kraken Slayer with the physical damage scaling. You like to have these 2 lethality items into Kraken Slayer, giving yourself a nice profile of damage. We haven't talked about Kai'Sa build yet. Kai'Sa opting for the on-hit build, which makes a lot of sense, right? If these guys are threatening to step forward, you've got 3 beefcakes. That is absolutely the time to want the on-hit of Kraken Slayer. But specifically, I would have preferred to see on-hit of Rageblade, right? Rageblade, you're going to be stacking against these guys, and very importantly, you have to stack. You have to be much more impactful than the Senna, or the Senna will outcarry you here. Instead, goes for the Navori Quickblades, which is largely about the Q damage. And the thing is, this guy doesn't care. This guy doesn't care. So they can front for you. I really don't like that we're seeing Navori in this game. Would much prefer to see the Umbral Glaive into Collector into Rageblade build for this game, giving you that extra source of lethality and crit and Rageblade procs. Kraken Slayer into Rageblade would also be fine to just play towards the maximum amount of on-hit damage. There is also, if you, all right, this is something you can only really do against champions like Senna. If you want to get into that like giga late game scaling, you can take your time and buy something like a Mirror Mana for yourself, which will basically single-handedly turn on the Q evolution for yourself, and then you can go for Gnasher's Tooth and Rageblade. It is much squishier. It is the highest payoff, but it does have a big trough from about 10 minutes to 22 minutes as you're completing your Mirror Mana. All right, hold on. J4 finds the big fight. R in, makes it set. Oh, beautiful synergy. Cataclysm means that Tom Kench gets to hit 2. Owner uses EQ to get out of, to move himself in the position. Now see how they recenter themselves. We're going to draw a line of scrimmage right here. Italy is favored in these situations, but Gnar is dealing tremendous damage. They're going to last as long as possible. Wait till we see whether or not we have a Jarvan EQ here. EQ in response, so that, nope, we don't even wait for the E. Gnar just jumps in right away, and his team does not even need it. They win it by themselves. They rip this fight apart even without him. Actually probably feels bad from this point of view. You teleported in to give up your pressure. Your team didn't need anything, but it did guarantee the play, right? You end up getting a lot. I like that Gnar immediately goes to the wave. Azir and Senna hitting this from over the other side is kind of crazy. We go. We're going to see Jackshaw going off. Jump over beautifully, and the W lands right on his face. Hey, Mom, look. Killed a crocodile. Says, I am the River King. Frogs, hippos versus gators. Oh, kind of a toad, demon toad of some sort. Look at this. R synergy into the W landing. All of those spells being used together. It's like a bounce house right in that small little area. So even though this position is a little bit scary for them, because they had so much of an HP lead, they're feeling very good about the situation. Now, BLG saying we're 5v4. We want to try to create this fight, but they missed this ward right here. The threat needs to come forward. You need to be willing to just step up. Unfortunately, 2 people die while Bin is just repositioning himself, which means the entire team gets wiped. Orianna picks up a wave on the side, but they lose the top side inhibitor, and Tom Kench is able to get this kill for himself as well. No, actually, top lane inhibitor does not go down. Gnar steps back. Orianna defends, but look at the size of these waves right here. Literally, they're all in position. If you're BLG, one punch. All right, this is like being round 15 in a boxing match where you're down by more than 15 points. There's no way to get back into this match by just like jabbing and outboxing. You have to throw haymakers. You have to try to go for the big hit. You have to engage on someone and try to go for a knockout blow. Jarvan ends up biting the dust, but they trade for Nidalee. Waves are coming in. Azir and Senna feeling super comfortable. 107 stacks from the Senna. Look at this attack range. You going over the top. The big hits right there. Gnar trying to deal his damage, just showing the gap. Gnar versus Renekton. Are you sure you want to Renekton on Red 2 next game? Carrier. Oh my gosh. Wait, are they trolling Faker? Oh my god. I like that they have the style there at the end, trying to troll each other, win in hand.